Have you seen people get evicted from properties that they've spent so much to fix? Are you very conversant with what has been going on social media as to people that have paid for their rent, they've renovated, spent so much, and at the end of the day, they are being evicted from the property? The recent one, the lady even destroyed everything. So that you won't be in this situation, let's talk about, before you can renovate your property, a rented apartment, what are the things that you should put into consideration? Welcome again to the Law and Highs, your host Folakemi Jegede. Remember, the Law and Highs, where law is made simpler and life is made better. And today we are going to be disseminating information in the most simplest form so that you can understand. So go right into it. Can you call your neighbor, your sister, your friends that another video has been dropped by the Law and I, because this discussion is for everyone. Have you seen people get evicted from properties that they've spent so much to fix? Are you very conversant with what has been going on social media as to people that have paid for their rent, they've renovated, spent so much, and at the end of the day, they are being evicted from the property? The recent one, the lady even destroyed everything. So that you won't be in this situation, let's talk about, before you can renovate your property, a rented apartment, what are the things that you should put into consideration? And let's go right into it. Number one, tenancy agreement is key. If you have been following our videos and you've been taking note about this, tenancy agreement is key. The tenancy agreement is the first place to work with. Most standard tenancy agreements will have put it into consideration: renovation, working on the property, what you are to do and what you are not supposed to do. And this will clearly shows that a tenant can renovate and whose responsibility is to improve on such property. And if a tenant renovates, what are the yardstick that should be done? For example, some tenancy agreements will put it there that there must be a written consent from the landlord agreeing to the renovation, depending on the type of renovation that you want to do. And if you fail to do all these things to comply with the provision and the clause in your tenancy agreement, it will totally lead to breach of the tenancy agreement. To digress a bit, when we talk about consent, you can't just get consent orally, because what do you have to show for it? You must have evidence to show that the landlord really consented to what you want to do. And there are different types of renovation. The first one is necessary repairs. Maybe you want to fix the plumbing, you want to fix the leakage roof, you want to do some things that are for your benefit. Those ones you may not necessarily need the consent or permission from the landlord. But when it comes to structural alterations that you want to demarcate, you want to fix the POP, you want to do different things to change the total outlook of the place, then a written consent from the landlord is very, very important. Some people even demolish the property and build some other structure. You can't do such thing without a written consent of the landlord. These are not allowed unless the landlord has given you an express written agreement and express written consent to that effect. And another type of renovation is cosmetic changes, e.g. painting of walls, different, putting wallpaper, all those cosmetic changes. You may not necessarily have an express permission of the landlord. And most times in a tenancy agreement, they will put it there, you should change the color back to how you meant it. So you can do anything, while you are there, but at the point when you are delivering the possession of the property, then you must change the word back to how you met it. So it is very important for your tenancy agreement to be very encompassing, to put all these things into consideration. And if they are not there, there is a responsibility on you as a tenant to ask questions. And when you are asking this question, make sure that it is written so that at the end of the day, you won't be crying. Consent is critical in renovation. And in a situation whereby a written consent has been done, sometimes the landlord will say that it will reimburse the tenant, or your next tenancy will be used instead of repayment. All these things are what is being agreed on if you go ahead to get the consent of the landlord. And in an event that you did not get the landlord's consent, the landlord can sue you for damages, for altering of the property. Whether you are doing good or bad, you did not get the landlord's consent, and the landlord under the law has the right to sue you, and also refuse to reimburse you for what you have done because you did not get the consent. And if you now go ahead to destroy the property, the landlord has the right to sue you. Having said that, know that the consent of the landlord is very, very important before you embark on any form of renovation, whether major or cosmetic or alteration. The consent is very, very important. So do you have right to compensation? Depending, I've explained, you may only have right to compensation if the landlord has agreed that he's going to compensate you. If the landlord even agreed for the alteration and did not agree to compensation, then you cannot force it out of the landlord. Everything must be in clear terms. If you be fixing the property and the landlord will compensate you if you are to evict it, all those things must be very clear. But if you not get the permission of the landlord, then you cannot force any compensation out of the landlord. The provision of law is so clear as to alteration, and each state, each recovery laws provides for what should guide alteration in a property. For example, under the tenancy law of Lagos State, Section 25, a tenant shall not make any alteration or additions without express consent and written consent of the landlord. That is the provision of the tenancy law of Lagos State, Section 25. And also, the violation may lead to termination of the tenancy. So if you go ahead to alter or to do anything, whether you are doing good, your intention is good, but how you have gone about it is wrong and is breaching the rules and regulation of the tenancy law, for example, of Lagos State. And even there is a provision, there is a court judgment under Oshin, Fade and Okeya, which the court also held that a tenant who makes improvements or alteration on any property without express consent of the landlord cannot claim compensation whatsoever. I know that it may pain you. See, if you are on social media, you will have seen how emotionally people were moved with the lady that has spent so much in that property. But the law is clear. If there is no written consent from the landlord, not from the agent, because I believe in that case, I think she told the agent, not the agent right now, because the agent is not the owner of the property. You must have a written consent from the owner of the property. That is when you can claim compensation. And also, you have acted voluntarily. If you've acted voluntarily on your own, then you're at your own risk. It's your own, stupidity. But for you not to be stupid, for you not to waste your money, that is why we are having this discussion, that before you spend so much on another person's property, make sure that there is a written consent from the landlord, whether you'll be reimbursed later or it forms part of your tenancy payment. All these things must be discussed by the two parties, because before you go on a voyage of investing on another person's property. I hope you have learned something today. The law and I is where law is made simpler and life is made better. Subscribe to this YouTube channel so that you will know when we drop our next video, and click the notification button so that you hear pim pim when we drop our next video. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and have a great day.